Kaldor Draigo, the Supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, was cursed to a life wandering the warp by the demon prince Makar. Despite the strength of will that all Grey Knights exhibit, one can only retain their sanity for so long in such a nightmarish place. In more recent times, Draigo has been shown becoming more and more mentally unstable.
You look like a starfruit!
Including suffering hallucinations of tiny men living within his beard, believing that he is in fact a son, and even believing that he is on a quest to provide ham to the forces of the Inquisition. It's hard to believe that the powerful and highly disciplined mind of an Astartes could fall to insanity so quickly, even while marooned within the Immaterium. It's possible that Draigo is in fact suffering from a form of schizophrenia. The symptoms of schizophrenia include hallucinations, delusions, disorganized speech, and disorganized or catatonic behavior, all of which Draigo has been shown to exhibit in one form or another.
I must go. My planet needs me.
The exact causes of schizophrenia are unknown, but it is suggested that a combination of physical, genetic, psychological and environmental factors can make people more likely to develop the condition. But we have no way of knowing of Draigo's early life to say for certain. Or do we? There is a little known child who could quite possibly be Kaldor Draigo before he became an Astartes, a child simply known as Billy. Found alone on a dead world, Billy was discovered and rescued by the Grand Provost Marshal of the Adeptus Arbites himself. It is rumoured that the reason the Grand Provost Marshal took personal interest in Billy is due to familial ties, although this is unconfirmed. Billy was brought back to Terra, where, on his way being escorted to the local scholar Progenium along with several other children, the group were run down by the Primarch Magnus the Red, who had apparently commandeered an Astartes bike. Billy was the only survivor of the vehicular onslaught. Billy would eventually be adopted by members of the Administratum, who would then leave Terra after being stationed upon a small Imperial agri-world. It was while on this world where Billy began to discover his latent psychic abilities. He began to distance himself from his adoptive family, and would hide within one of the barns inside the vast farming complexes. In his loneliness, Billy suffered terrible abuse at the hands of the Chaos Champion, Lucius the Eternal, who would mentally torture him for weeks at a time simply because Billy was a psyker, under the convincing guise of a kindred spirit. Soon after, the world would suffer raids from Dark Eldar. Billy was captured along with two other children and taken back to the Comoran slave pits, where once again he would be the only survivor. While in Camorra, the Archon of the Cabal of the Flayed Skull, Vrask Maladrak, would, for unknown reasons, take a liking to Billy, and would bring Billy back to the Materium locked in a cage like a pet whenever the Cabal would conduct his raids. This proved to be Billy's ticket to freedom, however, as him and several other Imperial citizens would eventually be rescued thanks to the lone efforts of the Catachan veteran known as Sly Marbo. Billy would escape from the Dark Eldar, but was soon after, in an unclear and illogical way, apprehended by the Deathwatch forces of Inquisitor Cryptman of the Ordo Xenos. Cryptman's forces had passed the world by chance shortly after the Tyrant invasion of Macragge. Billy's fate from here is officially unknown. However, given his psychic abilities and young age, it would seem likely that Cryptman would hand the young psyker over to the Grey Knights chapter of the Astartes, the militant arm of the Ordo Malleus branch of the Inquisition. After recognising his psychic potential and his obvious love and respect for the Astartes, as evidenced by him always wearing a costume modelled after Space Marine power armour, Billy would be inducted as a neophyte, have his mind scrubbed, and grow up within the ranks of the Grey Knights. Given all the physical and mental trauma Billy had suffered as a child at the hands of Chaos, Dark Eldar and others, keeping all of these memories repressed would come back to haunt him when he finally grew up as Brother Draigo. Within the warp, emotions are heightened and amplified, and because of this, all of Draigo's past would come back like a tidal wave breaking open a dam. This would then trigger the schizophrenic behaviour within Draigo, as his mind would struggle to comprehend such abuse from so long ago, along with the already mentally stressful environment of the warp, causing Kaldor Draigo's mind to shatter.
That is a lie! Hands do not exist in my reality.
But how would this be possible, as both Billy and an adult Draigo are shown to exist within the same time frame? It's important to note that time flows in a completely different way, unlike the way it does within the material realm. Years in the material realm can pass within seconds in the warp, or seconds in the warp can result in millennia passing within the Materium. Temporal paradoxes also do not seem to exist, given the evidence of the so-called lost war of Orc war boss Grizzlutz. When Grizzlut's forces made a warp jump, due to the unstable temporal tides of the warp, he returned in the system earlier than when he launched the war itself. Grizzlutz then proceeded to murder his doppelganger to have a spare of his favourite gun. However, a branch within the Inquisition exists whose very purpose is to deal with temporal anomalies, the Ordo Chronos. The Inquisitors of the Ordo Chronos studied the effects of temporal distortions which could lead to a disruption of the proper time flow due to unintended interventions within the past. Such actions are deemed as interference in the fate of mankind and against the will of the Emperor. Over the course of centuries, the Ordo Chronos expanded their mandate to relate to all forms of temporal phenomena, and include other such events that might be a deliberate attempt to interfere with the flow of time. The members of the Ordo Chronos are also known to vanish for centuries at a time, although no one knows as to why or where. It is speculated that they themselves are travelling back and forth through time to make sure events unfurl as intended. The Ordo was also known to work with the Death Watch on multiple occasions. Could it be that the Ordo Chronos had organised the capture of Billy at the hands of the Death Watch? But what would the Ordo Chronos want with Billy? If Billy did in fact grow up to become Kaldor Draigo, then perhaps he will play a crucial role in a future event, with the Ordo Chronos making a copy or temporal echo of him, placing him upon the barren dead world within the past, making sure that Billy will be discovered and another Draigo will rise through the ranks of the Grey Knights as a contingency plan should the original Draigo fall. Thanks for watching.